Hi everyone, I hope everyone is well. It's week 8. Here we are working on the last paper for this class. We're in our final weeks of Writing 122. So let's just start with a recap. You started task 1 by making an argument that, hey, I want to study this community, it's a discourse community, and you used Swales to prove that, and you also told us that this is a community worth studying. Then we moved on. We wrote some research questions, and you picked your favorite one, or maybe your favorite two, to answer. Then you started gathering research, and that's where we are right now. We've just finished the task 2 annotated bibliography. You gathered secondary sources, outside theory, other types of sources that will help you explain what you're seeing in your discourse community. And you've conducted primary research, so your own research into your discourse community. All of this is meant to help you answer your research question, which of course is the focus of task 3. Okay, so before I dive into the task 3 prompt, like always, be sure that you've read through the entire thing first. If you haven't read it, go read it, then come back, pause the video and come back, because I'm just going to sort of give you the broad strokes, and it's really important that you understand and read for yourselves all of the official details of this assignment. Okay, have you read it? Good. Here we go. So you've already done a lot of work for this paper. So now what you're going to do is to piece it together to create an academic argument. You're going to start with an introduction section. And I say section because if you see the student examples I've provided for us this week, you'll see that there are multiple paragraphs, not just one paragraph. They're a full section. Further, you'll notice that that is how a lot of the published academic pieces that we've read in this term are organized. We are writing something that could be published in our discipline, or for that matter, any other discipline. We're really spending a lot of time in this class to write a publishable inquiry, academic inquiry research paper. So the introduction section is complete. It's not just a paragraph in a lot of the published pieces we've read. We want to produce something that is of the caliber of being published, so we have an introduction section. The prompt also mentions something called the CARS model. CARS stands for Creating a Research Space. It's a set of typified moves that many academics in all different disciplines make when they write their introduction sections to published articles. So one of the pre-writing activities that we'll do this week includes an attachment that briefly goes over the CARS model. So that's going to let you start thinking about how you plan that section out. Somewhere in that introduction section, you need a thesis statement. This statement is the time to answer your research question. That is your thesis. Because that thesis should tell us how writing and rhetoric work within our community. So that's the first section of your paper, and again, that's how the first sections of most academic papers are structured, and not just in writing studies, in most academic disciplines. So we're really learning how to write a real-world, publishable, potentially publishable paper here. The second part is a description. Second part of our paper of task 3 here is a description of your methodology. I've given you a number of questions, but in short, the methodology section is basically you answering the questions. What did you do? Why did you do it? Why did you choose this kind of primary research over other types of primary research? The idea is for you here to explain to your readers how you gathered information and why you gathered information. And this is something that both of the student samples do really well. So that's our next major section. And again, this is something we see in most typified published pieces, not just in writing studies, but in all different kinds of disciplines. The rest of your research paper is going to look more familiar to you, more like the kind of papers you've written in the past. You basically now need to support your thesis with evidence using a combination of material from your secondary sources and your own primary research that you present and analyze and explain throughout the body of your paper. And by the end of that body, when you're sort of heading toward your conclusion section, I'm hoping that you'll be able to identify for other people who might be interested in this topic or the discourse community, able to identify other kinds of research, of future research that you think needs to be done so that we can understand things more fully. You should have researched and read enough that you can get a sense sort of what aren't we talking about. Did you struggle to find sources about certain kinds of topics? That might tell you that that's an area where more research needs to be done. Okay, so that more research needs to be done here move is also really common of real-world academic pieces of writing. Okay, so in general, this paper will come out to be about 8 to 10 pages. And I just want to stop here and say 8 to 10 pages in MLA format, which means 8 to 10 double-spaced pages. Despite what a lot of the student examples suggest, where they've single-spaced and they've gone beyond the page limit, which is fine. If you want to go over, you are welcome to do that. But know that those 8 to 10 pages are double-spaced. And generally, when we ask for a page number, that doesn't include works cited, that doesn't include appendices. Okay, so in general, this paper will come out to be 8 to 10 pages, double-spaced, and for some of us, that might sound like a lot, but to get all of that stuff into this paper, to get all of our introductions, our methodologies, our findings, you're going to find, I think, that those pages fill up really quickly, and perhaps you'll be you'll be one of those students who's decided to go over the page limit. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about audience. You're now ready to join the conversation. So you want to think of your audience as the scholars that we've been reading during our 8 weeks so far, because these are the people that are interested in DCs, they're interested in discourse communities, they're interested in how writing functions in these communities. And so you want to explain your ideas. You want to explain any specialized terms, especially any of you studying Lexis, and you want to quote from your primary and secondary research as appropriate to help you illustrate the points you're making. Audience are those scholars interested in writing, studies, and discourse communities, so they are probably going to be familiar with the ideas we've been talking about, but they're not going to be familiar with the specialized vocabulary that baristas use. So it's your job to show the insight, show your insight, give your insight into the specialized nature of your discourse community. Okay, quickly, some nitty-gritty, final nitty-gritty details. We're using MLA, which is the citation system and formatting system of this discipline. I've provided a link to the Purdue OWL website up there at the top of our Moodle page. I've provided multiple links to an online resource. So just make sure you're formatting, that your works cited page and your in-text citations are correct in MLA format. This is something I can help you with. You can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to the Writing Center, who, don't forget, is here to help you with writing throughout the entire term. Make sure your paper has an original title. Some of you have great titles for your papers, and some of you are still titling your paper Task 2, Annotated Bibliography. That's the name of the assignment. It should not be the name of your paper. Come up with an original title that captures kind of the idea that you're trying to get at in your paper. And finally, for those of you who have done interviews, that have done surveys, that have done observations, those are the kinds of things that you'll want to put in an appendix of your paper. So after the works cited page, you might have Appendix A, where you list your survey questions, or you give your survey data as graphs and charts. You can certainly put that data in the body of the paper if it's really relevant. But if you just want to include it as an afterthought to be thorough, the appendix is really where um, the entirety of your primary research goes. And I've got plenty of student samples. We'll read more. The two we look at this week won't be the only ones that we look at, because I think reading a range of previous student work will help give you an idea of what's possible with this paper. So we'll look at more student examples that use the appendices in really helpful, appropriate ways. Okay, I know I said it was the last thing a few last things ago, but the last thing is don't forget that I'm here. I know it might seem like you're alone, but don't struggle alone. I'm here during my office hours. If you don't like to chat in that way, or if you don't think that emails work, we can always have a one-on-one conversation. Google Hangouts or Skype or FaceTime or whatever you want to use. Don't struggle alone. This is a learning community and you have support. I'm really impressed with the work that's been done so far. I know how difficult this work is. And I'm impressed with the work you've done. And this is really the moment, I think, where it can all come together. To some degree, you are all experts in your discourse community. You know more about them than I do. And it's really been a joy to see you begin to analyze and make sense of them using, the concepts from this class, the concepts from writing studies, concepts of rhetoric and writing. And this moment is key. I'm really excited about this moment because I'm really excited to see it all come together and read these final papers. This is where your hard work this term really begins to pay off. You're able to bring everything together and actually answer in a intellectually rigorous way an interesting question about your discourse community, about a real world community. And you get to answer it for an audience who also cares about the way that writing works in discourse communities. So I think this is really this is really some of the most satisfying and, dare I say, fun work of this class, is getting to pull it all together, answer a question about something that we care about. So remember, take some deep breaths. We're almost there. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you. So I think all that's left to do is to begin our work. Really looking forward to reading.